Okay, we are going to solve these equations by looking at them and figuring out what the variable of each equation is. And in this first case, I have 5b minus 13 equals 17. So our goal is to figure out what b equals. To do this, you need to know a few things. That very first day that we started chapter 5, we reviewed about something called inverse operations. Basically, all that says is that the opposite of addition is subtraction, and the opposite of multiplication is division. That will come in handy here. Another thing that you need to remember when we are solving for the variable is to look at your equal sign and think we need to get the numbers on one side of the equal sign, and we need to get the letter on the other side of the equal sign. So 5b minus 13 equals 17. Since my b is already over here on the left of the equal sign, I'm going to try and get rid of this 13 and move it to the right side of the equal sign. But as you can see, I have a minus or a negative 13. And again, just like inverse operations, think the opposite. So when we move this negative 13 over to the right-hand side, we're actually going to do the opposite by adding it to the 17. So I'm going to take my negative 13 and I'm going to add it to my 17. That's going to leave me over on the left-hand side with 5b. And then over on the right-hand side, if I add 17 and 13, I get 30. Okay? 5b equals 30. Now I still have a number and I have a letter. We're going to keep the b over here, but we have to get rid of this 5 and move it to the right side. Anytime you have a number next to a letter, you know that that means multiply. And thinking of your inverse operation, the opposite of multiply is divide. So we are going to divide by 5 on both sides. And if we divide 5b by 5, that's going to leave us with 1b. So a b. And 30 divided by 5 is 6. Therefore, b in this equation equals 6. Okay, moving on. Our next one is 2m minus 3 equals m. This one's a little bit different because I actually see letters or variables on either side of the equal sign. Okay. What I think the best thing to do, since I have more m's on my left-hand side, I'm going to just go ahead and take this lonely little m over here and move him to the left-hand side. Well, since I don't really see a negative in front of this m, I know it's a positive, or think adding. So to get it to the other side, we have to do the opposite. So we're going to subtract an m, which would leave us with nothing on this side. So whatever we do over here, we have to do on the left-hand side. So we're going to subtract m. Okay, so if we have 2m minus the 1m, that's going to leave us with just a little old m. We still need to do something to this 3. Okay, since we're moving our letters to the left-hand side, we need to move our numbers to the right-hand side. And look, it's a negative. Therefore, we need to do the opposite to move it by adding 3. Well, if you remember, m minus m was actually going to leave us with 0. So if we add 3 to 0, that will give us 3. So in this case, m equals 3. Okay, here's our next two. This one says 2a plus 4 equals 10. Okay, I only see one letter, and it's over here on my left-hand side, so I think we'll keep that on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So let's move this 4 to the right-hand side, and I see it's a positive, plus 4. And remember, we have to do the opposite when moving it to the other side of the equal sign. So we are going to subtract 4, which would leave us with 0 on the left-hand side. We have to do the same thing on the right-hand side. So I'm left with 2a, and then on my right-hand side, 10 minus 4 is 6. One more step. I still have to single this a out, and as you see, we have 2a, which is multiplying, so we're going to have to divide, or the opposite of multiplying, to get what a actually is. So we're going to divide, by 2. We're going to do the same thing over here. 2a divided by 2 is 1 little a, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So a equals 3. This is a doozy of a problem, but it will be fine. We have 2s plus 16 equals 4s minus 16. So I've got my letters, and then I've got my numbers. So we have to decide where are we going to move the letters and where are we going to move the numbers. I always look to see where more of my letters are, and I'd try to move my letters to that side. And as you can see, I have a 2s and I have a 4s. And since there are more s's over here on the right, I think we should probably keep our letters or variables on the right-hand side and move our numbers to the left. So let's start with our letters first. 2s, a positive 2s. So since it's a positive, we need to subtract 2s from our left-hand side. So we're going to do the same over on the right-hand side. That's going to leave us with that positive 16. 4s minus 2s is going to give us 2s, and we still have that minus 6. We're almost done. I still have this minus 6 that I probably need to move over to my left-hand side because we're trying to single this s out. Since it's a minus 6, we're going to do the opposite of adding it and move it over here. So 16 plus 6, that will give us 22. And that equals 2s. One last step. Since I have 2s, I know that is multiplying, so I need to divide by 2 on both sides. Okay, so 2s divided by 2 is going to leave us with s, and 22 divided by 2 is going to be 11. So s equals 11.